I vividly recall being a young teenager, staying up late one night in search of a movie to watch. That's when I stumbled upon a 1979 classic, a film that profoundly impacted me in my dreams and remains one of my all-time favorites, Alien. My experience with the 1986 sequel, Aliens, was similarly transformative. They have a mystical, immersive quality that excites me in a way that few films have, and while the subsequent films didn't quite evoke the same reaction, I still appreciate them and find the series endlessly intriguing. Now at the release of the newest Alien film, I'm pleased to say that it exceeded my expectations, despite early reservations from friends. I genuinely really loved it and had a great time with it. Alien Romulus, directed by horror filmmaker Fede Alvarez, is the latest addition to the decades-old franchise. Alvarez, who's renowned for his slasher-style storytelling in films like Don't Breathe and Evil Dead, brings a fresh yet familiar energy to the series, offering a relatively straightforward slasher story featuring a young crew of blue-collar workers who get confronted by multiple alien threats, aligning well with his filmmaking style. This is in direct contrast to Ridley Scott, who in his later films would often pursue more conceptual storytelling, particularly in Prometheus and to a slightly lesser extent in Alien Covenant. While I appreciate Scott's ambition, I always felt he could have pushed these conceptual elements further. I ultimately found Alien Covenant somewhat disappointing and was dissatisfied with the direction that Scott took. So I actually quite appreciate that Alvarez returned to the franchise's basics with Romulus. The cast is led by Kaylee Spaney, who's absolutely excellent. Her fear and her physical acting are phenomenal. She's just been killing it for the past year. Between this, Priscilla, and Civil War, she's on an incredible streak. I really love her work. It's always just so believable. Also, her android brother in the film, played by David Johnson, whom you might recognize from last year's Ray Lane, delivers an outstanding performance and is easily my favorite part of the movie. I've always been drawn to the android characters in the Alien franchise, and Johnson's portrayal is no exception. His character exhibits two distinct sides, both of which are remarkably well defined. The more innocent side, which we're introduced to initially, is deeply affecting. Johnson brings a genuine kindness to the character that made me care for him almost immediately. On the other hand, his colder, more robotic and calculating side is equally brilliant, offering an enthralling contrast that raises compelling questions throughout the film about AI and its role in humanity. Johnson's performance adds significant depth to the movie, making his character the definite standout. The rest of the crew is decent, but I wish that the actors chosen had as much gravitas as Kaylee and David. They're all fine and written decently, but there could have been a little bit more depth to them for sure. Aileen Wu and Spike Fern are the weakest in the cast in my opinion. But beyond their casting, one of the major criticisms surrounding Romulus is the decision to bring back a character from the original Alien movie. Many, including myself, find this choice cheap and exploitative, especially when it involves using the likeness of a deceased actor. Although the character's return is somewhat justified within the film's context and didn't significantly detract from my viewing experience, it still feels unethical and unnecessary. The effects for him are also in the uncanny valley territory. I made it all very weird in a bad way. This move reflects a larger issue plaguing the film industry, an over-reliance on nostalgia. Like we just saw with Deadpool and Wolverine, the constant resurrection of past characters and storylines often undermines originality and creativity, contributing to a trend that feels increasingly stale and uninspired in contemporary cinema. Another issue I have with Romulus is the predictability of certain story beats. The film's first two acts, in particular, feel like a curated collection of the Alien franchise's most iconic moments, a sort of greatest hits run-through. While some might perceive this as derivative, I believe it was executed with skill and great elegance. So unless you've recently rewatched the previous films, these references and callbacks will go unnoticed. I do find some of the predictability annoying though, since the order in which characters die does feel obvious, to me at least, reducing the tension that should be central to a horror film. The first Alien movie is the best at this, since it isn't even clear that Sigourney Weaver is the protagonist until the very end. On the flip side, Romulus does manage to deliver a few surprising moments and showcases bursts of creativity, particularly in the third act. These elements help to elevate the experience, even if the overall narrative structure remains somewhat conventional. I do have to say, I'm particularly pleased with the last 10 minutes of Romulus. They're incredibly creative and offer something generally new to the franchise. The little fourth act within the film is a surprising and innovative twist, and it's refreshing to see the movie end on such a high note. The final sequence adds a unique dimension to the story, leaving a strong impression as the credits roll. Nearly every technical element of Romulus is truly stellar, with the cinematography and visuals standing out above all else. The film is a must-see in theaters, preferably on the biggest screen available. Also, the set designs, especially those of the ships and the dark planet in the beginning, were hauntingly gorgeous, creating rich and immersive mise-en-scenes. The alien designs remain genuinely horrific and terrifying, which is a rare achievement to see. The xenomorphs and its other alien forms looks better than ever, thanks to a brilliant combination of practical effects and just a touch of modern visual effects. The action sequences are expertly filmed, with the use of various vile liquids and substances adding to the film's visceral impact. The lighting, particularly the dramatic red tones and the deep dark shadows, enhances the intensity. The sound design is phenomenal and among my favorite of the year. I was holding my breath for so much of the story. And the runtime is perfect. It's not a minute too long nor a minute too short. Within the Alien franchise, Romulus ranks as my fourth, or possibly even my third, favorite installment. I'm rating Alien Romulus a light 8 out of 10. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a very well-made horror film in space, which is honestly all that I could ask for. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think.